this little.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending the Monday, October 28th Planning Commission Board of Adjustment meeting. I will begin the meeting reading the procedure, so please bear with me. All persons in attendance at the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment, the PCBOA meetings, are expected to comply with the following meeting procedure. Thank you in advance for helping make this a manageable meeting. Copies of agenda item materials are available for public viewing on the table located at the back of the meeting room. These materials are not to leave the table so that others in attendance may also view them. Please turn your phones to vibrate or off during the meeting and conduct any sidebar conversations outside of the meeting room. Interruption or other interference with the orderly conduct of the PCBOA meeting will not be allowed. Defamatory or abusive remarks are always out of order. Disruptive persons will be removed from the meeting. The chair may terminate a speaker's privilege of address if, after being called to order, the speaker persists in improper conduct or remarks. Written material concerning agenda items must be submitted to the Environmental Services Department by 3:30 p.m. on the Wednesday immediately prior to the meeting date. Written materials will not be accepted after this deadline or at the meeting because the PCBOA will not have sufficient time to review them prior to the meeting. Such material must state the agenda item for which it is being submitted and the name and address of the submitting party. Planning Commission business is conducted first, followed by the Board of Adjustment business. The chair will call the meeting to order and explain the meeting procedure. The chair will read each agenda item into the record and ask the applicants to come forward to the presenter's table, state his or her their names and address for the record, and explain his, hers, or their request. The PCBOA will then discuss the agenda item with the applicants. The chair will then ask for public comment on the agenda item. To facilitate an orderly, efficient meeting, there is a 3-minute speaking time limit per speaker per agenda item unless the chair allows a speaker additional time. The chair may terminate the speaker's privilege of address if, after being called to order, the speaker persists in improper conduct or remarks. When the chair recognizes a speaker, he or she may approach the audience podium and microphone, state his, her, or full name and address for the record, and write such on the speaker log, and then share his or her comments. The audience podium microphone must be used by the recognized speaker because the meeting is recorded. A member of the public may not donate his or her speaking time to another speaker. A speaker should state his or her comments and address the issue, not the applicant. All comments are to be directed towards the PCBOA. Please do not repeat comments already made by previous speakers. The chair reserves the right to ask a group with similar comments to appoint a spokesperson. If written comments have been submitted to the PCBOA, please do not read them aloud during the meeting, as they are already a part of the record and copies thereof have been given to the PCBOA. After everyone wanting to speak on an agenda item has done so, the chair will close the public comment period on the agenda item. No further public comment will be taken after this point. The chair will give the applicant an opportunity to address the issues raised during public comment. The PCBOA will then continue its discussion on the agenda item, and the chair will entertain a motion on it. The PCBOA may make a motion to pass, deny, or table the item. Once a motion is made and seconded, the PCBOA will develop findings of facts for conditional use permit and variance applications, and then vote on the motion. Once a vote is taken on an agenda item, the PCBOA will move on to the next agenda item. Meetings commence at 6 p.m. and will continue until all agenda items have been heard or until 10 p.m. No new agenda items shall be considered after 9:45 p.m. The PCBOA may, at its discretion, continue an item that is on the floor at 10 p.m., and any remaining agenda items shall be continued to another date or time, preferably the immediately following Tuesday at 6 p.m., and no further public notice will be provided for such a meeting continuation. The PCBOA, through the chair, may modify these procedures prior to a meeting or an agenda item. Okay, first on the agenda, we have the Planning Commission approval of the minutes for the September 23rd, 2024 meeting. Anybody have any questions or comments on the Planning Commission minutes? No. Okay, does anyone care to make a motion?
This is Mike. I'll make the motion to accept the minutes as written.
Thank you, Mike.
This is Tim. I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Tim. We have a motion by Mike to approve the September 23rd, 2024 meeting minutes. Tim seconded the motion. Tim, how do you vote?
Tim votes aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. The meeting minutes have been approved. Moving straight forward, we have no old business and no new business, so we'll move right to the Board of Adjustment. Approval of the minutes there. Anybody have any questions or comments on the Board of Adjustment meeting minutes?
Nope.
Okay.
This is Larry, I move to accept the minutes.
Okay. A motion by Larry. Have anyone have a second, please?
This is Mike. I second the motion.
Okay, a motion by Larry to approve the Board of Adjustment meeting minutes, second by Mike. Mike, how do you vote?
It's Mike. I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Tim, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. The meeting minutes have been approved. Okay, there's no old business. Moving straight on to the new business. We have variance application 52-B-24 by Violet Struss, part of Government Lot 5, Section 2, Township 140, Range 32, White Oak Township on Island Lake, a natural environment lake. Parcel 28.02.00720. The applicant is requesting a variance from Section 702 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for a proposed roadward addition to a non-conforming dwelling located within the 50-foot road right-of-way setback. The request is to replace an existing entry to a house built in the 1960s that sits within the 50-foot road right-of-way setback from County 12 that runs along the rear side of the property. 12-foot deep by 25-foot wide by 15-foot high covered porch is proposed to replace the entry with a 2-foot deep eave overhang. Do we have the applicants? Thanks. Go ahead and step up there and please state your name and address for the record.
Sure, thank you. I'm Violet Struss. The address is 21403 County 12 in Eckles. Am I talking too loud?
Get close, no, bring it
Closer.
right close. Speak into it.
Okay. Yes, and you summarized it well. We're looking for a variance to build a porch in replacement of an entry and planter box that are currently on the home. And the home is a non-conforming dwelling. It was built actually into the setback before the setback existed.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions about the application? I wasn't there during lot views, so I will be looking forward to hearing anything from the other members that were.
This is Mike. It's not so much a question as a comment. Observation is the addition is being asked for on the non-lake side of the home, and there is a very deep ditch between the county road and the proposed addition, so I don't see any safety issues concerning it.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
This, Ken, I think it was pointed out in the staff report, some concern that the septic line, and it's in one of the drawings in our packet, the septic line from the tanks to the drain field that run in front of the house. There was concern that they might be closer to the house and you might build onto them. The drawing doesn't show it. Do you know how far from the house so that line is?
We do, and the proposed porch will be, will not extend over the line. The excavator that we're hiring is the same person who installed the drain field, so he's very familiar with where the pipes are located.
And my other comment is, I think they were asking for a 20-foot setback from the right-of-way. The actual calculations for a 12-foot addition would be 23. I did calculate 24. I don't know, I guess the point is, could I assume that the addition is gonna be 12 feet out from the foundation of the house and not try to specify it by right of way? Because it's kind of confusing, is, just as a thought, because it is not parallel to the road. The one corner of the house is almost 100 feet back versus, 80-some for the other, so I'm gonna assume from my perspective that it's 12 feet out from the foundation of the current house, 2-foot overhang, okay,
Yep, that's
and
correct.
not on the septic line.
That's correct.
Okay.
All of those we agree to.
Any other board members have any questions or comments?
This is Tim, is that, the brick part that's falling apart, that was out away from the house?
That was a planter box, so it wasn't out as far as the entry step. The entry step is roughly, 6 feet or so out from the house. The planter box was maybe 2 to 3 feet from the
Okay.
window. Yep.
Because on what Eric has up right now, it shows that 12 feet from, it looks like from that planter.
So the 12-foot will extend to cover where the planter was. That's correct. The 12-foot addition
Oh, it
will
covers
cover the
that
whole
existing?
25 feet. Yeah, so the footprint of where the planter box and the entry are right now will be replaced by a porch. And the porch will come out the 12 feet with the
Mm-hmm. I just
2
wanted to
foot
make
overhang.
sure you had enough room. See, it looks like that planter is out further than what Ken's saying, 12 from the house. And on that map up there, it shows 12 from that planter.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It is 12 from the planter.
You intended that 12 feet from the.
From the
from
house
those-
or from the,
From
Planter,
the planter, I'm sorry. Yeah,
because the addition is 12,
you're right.
but I don't know. It shows off the planter, I don't know.
Well, let's back up. I assumed the planter was going.
It
is,
is.
Everything
but
is going.
I was
and
going
they-
by the measurement.
It is,
Yeah.
but, so this is our contractor's drawing, and he is showing the 12 feet from the house.
Okay.
So we're gonna go with what he's saying, because he's building it. So we'll go with the 12
plus
feet.
a 2-foot overhang.
Plus the 2-foot overhang, correct. Thank you.
And it's an open porch.
Open porch, no walls, that's right.
okay, if there are no further questions at this time, I'm going to go ahead and
This is only
open
12
for
feet
public
from the
comment. Seeing no public comment, I'll close public comment. Okay, thank you for the clarifications, appreciate that. I am agreeing as what Ken mentioned, that it is on the non-lake side of the house. Again, I wasn't doing lot view, so I appreciate the information with the ditch as well between the house for safety reasons, because I did have a concern on the road right-of-way setback. I also agree with Ken and Tim on specifically stating the 12 feet from the building, the extension of the porch being 12 feet from the structure. That way we can specify it if we move forward with this. Anybody have any other questions or comments?
Motion.
I'm ready for a motion if you're
Okay,
ready.
this is Ken. I'll make a motion that we accept this variance application 52V24 for a 12 by 25 by 15-foot high addition, 12 feet from the foundation of the house, 2-foot overhang, and not on top of the septic line, and accept the staff's recommendation for the findings of fact.
And I think we have to answer number 1, Ken. Number 1 is not completed.
Oh, yes, that's right. I got, forgot about it. I'd say, is the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intended official controls? And I'd say the house was built in 1960, the road is curved, there is no safety issues, replacement of the porch is reasonable versus the extent of the 50-foot right-of-way setback.
Okay, thank you, Ken, and I will add that maybe it has no environmental impact on the lake as well.
Yes, okay.
Anybody care to make a second?
This is Mike, I'll second the motion.
Okay, Ken made a motion to approve the application with specifics 12 feet by 25 feet by 15 feet with a 2-foot overhang, and the addition is from the foundation of the house and not extending over the septic. He provided the findings of fact for number 1 and adopted staff's findings of facts 2, 3, 4, and 5. And Mike seconded. Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
Okay, and this is Veronica. I vote aye. Your application has been approved. You'll receive a letter from the Environmental Services Office, a decision letter, with the next steps for your application. Okay?
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Okay, next item on the agenda, variance application 53-V-24 by William Eckles, Lot 12, 13, and 14, Block A, Shorewood, Section 26, Township 141, Range 34, Lake Emma Township on Big Sand Lake, a recreational development lake, parcel 16.42.00700. The applicant is requesting a variance from Section 507.2, Item 9 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance to allow a mechanical lift and stairway as a means of accessing the lake when only one lift or stairway is allowed. So currently, there's a mechanical lift on the property for accessing the lake, and the applicant would like to be able to construct that stairway along the side for backup access. Do we have the applicant available? Yes, please come to the presenters table. And you can state your name and address, and then proceed with your request, please.
Yeah, it's William Eckles, and it's 20009 Glen Drive, Park Rapids.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eckles. You can-
And yeah, as you had stated, currently we have a lift to access the lake from our cabin. And we have a situation where we have family that utilizes the cabin, and physically they're not able to get up or down the hill when the lift isn't working or when power's out. And so we'd like to put a staircase in which will run right next to the lift, utilizing the existing platform that the lift utilizes at the bottom as a alternative means of getting up and down.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eckles. During the lot views, I just wanted to visit with you. I noticed you have a couple different platforms that are all together, connected together. You have the one that comes right off the tram, approximately, 2 feet, 3 feet by 6 or 8 feet long? Just
Something
the
like that.
long, narrow section?
Yep.
And then, so what size is the other part of the platform?
Boy, I couldn't tell you how wide that platform is off the top of my head. I'm terrible with measurements. Probably 10 feet by 5 feet, maybe, something like that.
So I guesstimated 6 by 10 when I went down there to look at it.
Yeah,
so
something like
just
that.
was curious, okay. And the intent is to build the stairway, and from the gentleman that was there, said it would attach to, one of the rails would be removed and it would be attached directly to that same platform, or the one that's right there.
That's the plan, yes.
This is Ken. And you're not planning any platforms anywhere along the steps all the way down?
Correct.
Okay.
It'll be straight down.
Do you have any questions or comments from the board? Before I go forward, I'm going to go ahead and open for public comment. Seeing no public comment, I will close public comment. Do you know when that platform that you currently have down there was constructed?
Maybe a dozen years ago.
Was there a permit pulled for the platform?
Boy, I would hope so. I don't know.
Well, the shoreline management ordinance allows you a 32 square foot platform at the end of stairways. You're kind of gonna have two separate ones. If this goes forward, you could have two. I mean, some people usually put the tram on one side and the stairway on another. Some people put them side by side. However, I think we would meet, in my opinion, having it attached to the platform, we're still gonna be with underneath that 32 square foot if you had two of them separate.
I should say the platform that's down there now was a rebuild of one that was put
Prior?
in probably 30 years ago or more.
Fantastic, even better. So that's, I don't have documentation on that with me right here, and I didn't clarify that or
The tram we
verify
have there
that.
now is our second one, and we had the original tram was put in 45 years ago.
Perfect.
So,
Well, my point being was I'm comfortable with allowing both items to end at the one platform, even though it is slightly larger. Any other comments or questions?
This is Tim. No, the comment I'd make, there was gonna be no big trees cut out. It was gonna be, pretty much camouflage
Same
from the
area.
lake.
Yeah, same area. I guess the only thing I might suggest, even though, since it's not written in the application that I noticed anyhow, we just had the verbal description that it would go and be attached to that platform, which maybe be a condition that actually states the proposed stairway to access the lake must utilize the existing platform currently being used by the tram.
yeah, that'd be no
You're
problem.
open to that? so.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it's a reasonable request to have both items to both the mechanical lift and other access, especially when we don't have power. So I'm open and I'm supportive of the application. Okay. Anybody prepared to make a motion? Otherwise, I can do so.
I guess I can make a motion that we approve the application 53V24 as proposed in the application and accept the findings of fact from the department.
Do you think we need the condition about utilizing that platform only? Or leave it as it is?
I assume the platform, if it's a rebuild, it's okay as it is. It's approved, non-conforming, but it's approved. So I don't know if there's any reason to make
Perfect.
any comments on it.
Anyone care to make a second?
This is Larry, I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Ken made a motion to approve the application as presented per the site plan. Larry seconded the motion, and Ken also approved or adopted the staff's findings of fact. Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim. I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. Your application has been approved. You'll receive a decision letter from the Environmental Services Office later on in the week to give you your next steps for the application.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Dennis and Heidi Massie. 54-V-24, parts of Government Lot 1, Section 5, Township 140, Range 34, Henrietta Township on Ingram Lake, a natural environment lake, parcel 13.05.00900. The applicants are requesting an after-the-fact variance from Section 502.1 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for two accessory structures located within the 150-foot ordinary high watermark setback. The first structure is an 8 by 11, 9/8 shed, 126 feet from the ordinary high water mark, and the second structure is a 10 by 12 by 10 8-inch gazebo at the 47-foot ordinary high water mark. We have the applicant there, so please state your name and address for the record.
Dennis Massie,
Separately, right? The shed separately from the gazebo?
We can, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
17490 Grackle Road.
Thank you, sir. If you can go ahead and just give us a little information on your request.
Information?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of briefly talk about what else you want or anything that you want to add for your request here, your application.
This is a recorded record.
Yeah, so
it's
we,
pretty much a repeat of your,
yeah,
Of the application itself?
yes.
Okay, well, we purchased this home back in October of '81, I believe. It was a 400-foot cabin, and it had a slab with a variance. On that slab was the gazebo. Our understanding was the gazebo had the variance, so we thought we could move it and then we built on the slab to finish our cabin. And neither one of us knew we needed a different variance to move that gazebo. And that's where we ran into a problem, so.
And the shed as well, you want to give us a little bit of background on the shed?
The shed was given to us because we needed storage, and we just had somebody drop it off, and we just put building materials in there from the addition. We put the snow blower in there, the lawnmowers in there in the winters, and basically that's all it's used for is storage.
Okay.
Our house is only 850 square feet, so we have no place to put anything.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Okay, yes, Ken, for your question, this is Veronica speaking. I would prefer to do these in two parts, part one being the shed and part two being this gazebo as we move forward. And we'll do part one first, the shed. The lot is rather small, 126 feet wide and 150 feet deep. And you don't have a garage on the current lot, correct?
No.
You know, this is a this is Ken, it's a natural environment lake, and so the normal setback would be 150 feet, which would put him in the road.
Put me in the road, yeah, that's the problem, yeah.
So he can't meet the right-of-way setback on that shed and the ordinary high water mark setback. It's reasonable without a garage. And I don't think there's any you could move it back a little bit. But I think physically, when I looked at the shrubs and trees and stuff there, 10 feet wouldn't buy anything. So from my standpoint, I think leaving the shed makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ken, I appreciate that. I'm gonna go ahead and open for public comment for part one. Okay, seeing no public comment, I will close public comment on part one of the shed. And this is Veronica speaking again. I agree, Ken, that I looked at other places for the shed, and it's really in a location where it's pretty well hidden, tucked away behind the cabin, or slightly behind the cabin there, and it's about as far away as you can get without being in the driveway or the road. And I agree and I am in favor of approving that part of the application, part one. Any other comments? No?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mike.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Thank you, Mike. Go ahead.
I make the motion that we approve Part 1 of Variance Application 54V-24 and accept the staff's findings of fact.
Okay, do I have a second?
This is Ken, I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion from Mike to approve Part 1 of the after-the-fact 8x11 shed to remain in its location. Second by Ken, when adopting the staff's findings of facts. Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. Part 1 of the application has been approved. Now we're going to move forward to Part 2, the 10x12 gazebo. During the lot views, you mentioned, and again, even this evening, that this gazebo was located on the slab, or right near the slab where the cabin currently exists. Have you considered locating it behind? There's like some room there on the back side of the cabin where you can have some shelter and,
We put it there for a relaxing night. Watching the lake is the only reason we put it there. We have a little smokeless fire pit in there, and we just sit and watch the lake at night in there. That's all we do in there. Having it be between looking at the house other than the lake, I mean, it just didn't make any sense to us.
Ken, you did build the gazebo.
No, it was there when we bought the house,
There
or
when
bought
you
the
bought the
cabin.
house.
It was on the slab that had a variance to build
The slab had a variance.
when we bought the house, correct?
not where, this is Veronica speaking for clarifications, not where it's currently located, but over where the cabin, the new cabin is where,
Okay.
where they said it was located.
But this-
Correct?
Oh, let me understand then.
Okay.
The gazebo was approved over there, but the slab in this location, was you put in, or was that approved by variance?
From my understanding, Ken, where this gazebo currently is placed is where the applicant recently moved it from the slab that their cabin is on.
Yeah, okay. And so was this slab then built to put it there?
It's not on a slab
There's
right
no-
now,
there
it's on
isn't a slab
footings.
there.
It's just on footings and sand.
Yeah.
Or that just sand?
Just
I couldn't-
footings.
I can't remember from the day I thought it was, okay.
Correct. Eric, can you please put up some aerial imagery for me, just so that we can see other, there we go, yeah. Thank you.
Why am I confused? Did they move it because it is an addition to the cabin?
They moved it because they built the cabin,
Yeah, okay.
and
Yeah.
the addition,
The addition. yeah.
enlarging the cabin is why they moved it.
Yeah, enlarge the cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open for public comment for Part 2 of the 10x12 gazebo. And for the record, we have no public comment, so I'm going to close public comment.
Ken, do you want some more comments?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Ken,
a
thank you.
couple thoughts. I mean, clearly where it's located makes it the most useful location. On the other hand, I also notice that there's really no buffer zone along the entire shoreline at all, and that there are no gutters on the front of the house, and the gutters on the back feed the water down towards the lake.
There are gutters on the front of the house.
Not that I could see. Where does the water run?
As far as.
Gutters.
On the gutters?
Goes on the ground right down into the lake, right?
I wish we'd have taken a
Picture of the
picture of
house.
that.
If I recall looking at it, if I'm looking from the lake at the house, there's a kind of a sidewalk along the side,
Correct.
and the gutter is sitting on that sidewalk, and then any water coming down that gutter from the back is running right down. And I don't recall seeing gutters on the front of the house. What I'm trying to get at is I think that if we were to approve this gazebo where it is, that some level of mitigation buffer zone on the lake should be applied. Your entire shoreline is without any buffer or runoff protection, and the whole front yard slopes right towards the lake. Yeah. See, that one on the backside just runs right, the gutter comes down here, runs right down the sidewalk. And how about on the other side, on the lake side? I did not see gutters on the lake side.
No, there are no gutters on the lakeside.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I thought you said the front of the house. I apologize.
I always think of the front as what faces the lake. The side of the house that faces the lake and everything else, everything runs directly into the lake off of your structure. And I would propose that a buffer zone, a no-mow zone, typically asks for 25 feet. We could maybe talk about that runs the length of your shoreline except where your rec area is. You have about your standard 20 by 15 rec area with sand. You have the picture.
Yeah, the one.
I think there's a picture in the packet, anyway.
Yeah, I took that out.
Right.
There.
I took that out.
You took the vegetation cover out, but you still have that rock area. You're allowed on a typical shoreline only to have, it should be a natural vegetation except for basically a 20 by 15 rec area. And I'm looking at that rock as being pretty close to a 20 by 15 rec area.
We removed that, though.
The rock part.
Yeah, and the sand. You guys told us to move it, so we did, yeah.
Okay, you're allowed to have an area 20 by 15 rec near the lake where you don't have to plant vegetation or have vegetation. All I'm trying to get at is that some level of no-mow zone along that lake shore, except for a 20-foot wide section, should be put in place. Okay?
I'm confused.
You what?
I'm confused.
I think what Ken is trying to say is if he's willing to move forward with this application, that he would be placing a no-mow zone on quite an extended part of the shoreline there. That's his thoughts as far
Okay.
as moving forward.
All right.
Can I just have a couple questions for you? How large is your deck, your lakeside deck?
You know, I've never measured it. It was there when we bought the house.
Well,
So-
according to the site plan that you have here, it looks like you have like 46 by 12 or 46 by 10, the entire length of the cabin. Can we go back to the deck picture, Eric, please? The front of the lakeside, yes. So that deck there, how large is that deck?
Again, I would guess 46, I would guess it's 35 to 40 feet long.
Okay, and so you can utilize it to view the lake and,
We can.
okay.
And that's,
So you have a nice place to also view the lake besides the gazebo.
yes.
I don't have a problem retaining the gazebo on the lot. I just think it should be outside the shore impact zone.
Okay.
I think relocating it is my preference. Somewhere on the backside or, and you can go, a different route if there's a different place that you'd like to place it, but that's just my opinion at this time. There are other areas for the applicant to sit and view the lake, or we can move the gazebo that's outside the shore impact zone. I understand that a variance would be needed to retain it entirely because your lot is small and your lot doesn't meet the setback because it's a natural environment lake. Have you thought about relocating it at all?
No, we haven't. We were just hoping we could leave it there, is what we were hoping. It's hard to move. I couldn't do it until next year, actually, so.
This is Tim speaking. So you would be agreeable to a no-mow zone along your shoreline to be allowed to leave it where it is?
I would.
And you'd go down to the allowed rec size for the only part that you'd maintain open. What is that, 15 by?
15 by 20.
20 feet wide, 15 feet deep, you're allowed to have that as a recreation area.
Okay.
From my standpoint, if we're gonna leave the gazebo there, I'd like to see a 25-foot strip all the way across your shoreline as a no-mow. Let it grow to natural vegetation, except you are allowed to cut out a 20 by 15 area next to the lake at some location in that buffer zone.
Okay, so that one picture you had with where we had the rocks,
Yeah.
is that,
Yeah.
Can we
You-
put
you
that
can't-
back?
Well, you had
Can
to
I-
remove that because you can't build a sand beach.
Right,
Okay. Right, Eric?
correct.
So they had to take out the vegetation cover and the sand beach, which you're not allowed to build.
I got that.
Okay, but you can have an area there with chairs or whatever and mow it or keep it clean,
Right, a
so to
mowed
speak.
area, yeah.
You're allowed to have it, but beyond that, a buffer zone of 25 feet in and the full length of your property. You just can't mow it. Let it grow into natural vegetation. It'd be nice to plant some shrubs or whatever, but something that will prevent runoff to the lake. Because when I look at your property, all the rain that comes down on your property ends up in the lake, which is not what is good for a small lake at all.
But it's, okay. Yeah, I mean, that cabin's been there since 1967. I mean, I know.
Any other comments from the other board members on their take on the application? for
This is
part-
Mike. I'm in agreement with Ken on his approach.
Do you understand the possible condition then, if they move forward, that you have the entire length of your shoreline, the lot, would be 25 feet in, no mow zone, and you could only mow that 15 by 20 rec area? It's not for sand, it's not a sand beach or anything, it would just be, that's the only area that you could,
You can put it anywhere you want. You might want to put it right in front of where your dock is, rather than off to the side. There's a bank there on your left side, right? There's about a 3-foot drop off from your bank on the left side.
Yeah.
And then you have your dock. So you could build that rec area or unmowed area or whatever you want to call it, right there. You could move it to right there if you wanted to.
How do you define a rec area? What do you mean, a rec area?
It's an area that doesn't have to be maintained in natural vegetation,
Okay,
okay?
meaning that's the area you could mow.
mow.
That's, yeah, so that you can, yeah, again, it's not a sand beach or
No,
anything
I
like that,
got
just the
that.
mowed area.
Okay.
Okay, is anyone prepared to make a motion?
This is Mike. I'll make the motion that we approve Part 2 of the variance application with the condition that the entire width of the lot is maintained with a 25-foot no-mow zone along the lake. The only exception would be for the 20 by 15-foot rec area that's allowed. And as far as findings of facts, number one is in the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls. Yes, by establishing a no-mow zone, it increases the likelihood that any runoff will not reach the lake. Number 2 is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by official control. It's reasonable to have a small gazebo considering the small footprint that the cabin has on this small lot. And again, with the no-mow zone established, it protects the runoff from entering into the lake. Is the need for the variance due to circumstances unique to the property and not created by the current or prior owners? Yes, the cabin's been in place since 1960. It's a small lot, and again, we're establishing a no-mow zone. Number 4, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of locality? Yes, with the addition of the no-mow zone, the uninterrupted shoreline, which is fairly prevalent on this lake, will be increased. And except number 5, it's mislabeled as 6.
Correct. Thank you, Mike. Does anyone care to second the motion?
This is Tim, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike to approve the after-the-fact variance location for Part 2, the 10 by 12 gazebo to remain in its existing location. And we have a second by Tim. Before I go forward, can I suggest another possible condition that we can propose?
Sure.
That if the gazebo is ever removed or replaced, that it be placed in a outside of the shore impact zone?
I will accept that.
The condition being that if it's ever replaced or rebuilt, that it must be moved to outside the shore impact zone, just meaning that you have to move it.
If I have to move it, I'm going to sell it.
Got it, perfect. All right, and then a second by Tim with that condition. Mike made the findings of facts 1 through 4 and adopted the findings of fact number 5 from staff. Ken, how do you vote?
Oh, this is Ken, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
This is Mike, I vote aye.
Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica, I vote nay. Your application has been approved. You'll get a letter from the Environmental Services Office about both the after-the-fact applications and the next steps to proceed with, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You should say Timothy. When you say Tim, it sounds like Ken to me.
Okay, you did fine. I'm switching it up.
I expected you to ask.
No, that's because I'm switching
Keeping
it
us on
up.
our toes
I
today.
am, yes,
Well,
I'm
that's
switching it
okay.
up. All right, next item on the agenda. Variance application 55-V-24. We have Graham and Marcia Wilson, Lot 1, Block 1, Timber Bay, Section 22, Township 141, Range 35, Arago Township on Eagle Lake, a recreational development lake, Parcel 02.49.00100. The applicants are requesting a variance from Section 502.2 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for a proposed lakeward addition to an accessory structure that will encroach into the 100-foot ordinary high watermark structure setback. And again, it's for the 16 by 32 addition to the detached garage that was constructed by permit in 1998. Do we have the applicants? Thank you. Yep. Okay, you can say your name and address for the record, please, and then you can just give us some information on your request.
Okay, I'll do that.
And I-
Okay. I'm Graham Wilson, and this is my wife, Marcia. We own the property at 24606 Hampton Drive, Park Rapids. We're on the south edge of Eagle Lake. We've been here for 6 years, and we have recently retired and are spending more time at our home. Therefore, having more equipment for maintenance and recreation, we're requesting to add on 16 feet to our existing garage. We're proposing to add the storage area to the north side of the garage towards the lake. The north side of the garage is currently at 100 feet from the lake, so we are asking for a 16-foot variance, making it 84 feet from the lake. Our deck on our house is 76 feet from the lake. The storage addition would be further from the lake than our house. There's a practical difficulty to build the east of the garage relating to the neighbor's property line, which is 10 feet from us. There's a difficulty to build the west of the garage relating to our house and cemented patio area in between. There is also a difficulty building south of our garage relating to sloping driveway, overhead garage doors. The driveway has a 5-foot drop from the road and water rushes down into the garage. It is practical to build an addition to the north side of the garage using the one wall of the garage for the added storage. The proposed variance is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the official controls. It will be built as a gable into the garage with the same siding, shingles, gutters and overhang to match the existing structure. The peak will be 2 feet shorter than the existing garage and 13 feet shorter than the existing house. The proposed addition would not contradict the goals and objectives of the zoning regulations. It is in alignment with the spirit of the law. Other structures and other properties in the area are also positioned closer than 100 feet to the lake. The addition will blend in with the current character of the property. It will increase the value of the property and not alter the character or value of nearby properties. We believe this is a reasonable request for extra area. Our lot is relatively small and pie-shaped. It will be out of character of the area to place a storage facility in the front yard. It is not aesthetically pleasing, nor is it aesthetically pleasing to have equipment such as lawnmowers, snow blowers, ranger, furniture, canoes, and various tools pertaining to keeping a nice property and recreational equipment. Currently, our car sits outside. Garbage bins need to be kept inside because of the bears. The addition would definitely maintain the character of the locality as described earlier. The stated practical difficulty involves practicalities, aesthetics, not just economic consideration. We thank you for your time and request this sincere consideration and approve the request.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Appreciate the information. And thank you for the clarification on the height and type of addition that you are proposing. You said gable on there, and you said it's going to be 2 feet shorter than the existing height, or what
It's a 612 in the garage, and being it's gabled in, it'll be 412.
Okay, thank you.
And as far as the gutters, I put 75% of the water from the house into a sump, so it soaks into the lake. And I'll do the same for the addition to the garage.
Does anybody have any questions at this time for the applicant?
This is Larry. Clarify the water, you said you pump it from the house?
No, I don't pump it.
Oh,
I took all the downspouts and put them into a sump, so it soaks into the lake as opposed to running down
oh, okay.
into the
So
lake.
it's an
Soaks into the
underground,
ground.
It goes straight into the ground,
Okay, very good.
so there's no runoff.
Sure. This is Veronica speaking. During the lot views, I did note that I didn't see any indication of erosion or runoff. Also, I noticed that there's quite a bit of coverage on the side of the property from the lake, where there's a lot of vegetation in the water that hasn't been removed, and that kind of gives them a little bit of
On the east side of the garage, there is rock,
Yep,
which with the existing garage runs into and dissipates.
perfect, okay.
This is Tim speaking. Do you have a water problem right now, the way it is when it rains and melts in the spring to your garage?
To the garage, no.
There's kind of a flat area that it seems to just, and then we have that rock there.
Okay.
It seems to dissipate.
It's sloped towards the east as it comes down, veers around to the east of the garage.
It looked pretty flat to me. I just was wondering if it was a problem at all.
Hasn't been as yet, no.
Are you there in the winter?
Yeah, not all the time, but we're there quite a bit, yeah.
Okay. One other thing, I seen that your septic's across the road.
That's correct.
Have you ever looked into putting that over there, a shed over there?
We don't own that land. We're
Got a septic over there?
Yeah, but we don't know.
we're giving, the owner gave us the right to use it.
Oh, I see.
The east-
The neighbor,
east-
he's 3 or 4 doors down, and he gave all his people, the 4 houses there, use of that land across the road,
Oh,
because the lots are so small. We have nowhere to put it.
see, this is Ken. What is why is the need for such a large addition? What do you intend to store in there that you don't store now?
I've never seen a shed big enough for anybody, but,
What?
well, I've got a snowmobile, snow blower, a ranger, a canoe, 2 shovels, 2 everything. It's just, we have stuff, I'm afraid.
We've got patio furniture.
Patio furniture
lawn
and-
chairs.
But you're asking for about a 70% increase in the size of your structure, right?
I think
It's the
70%.
same width,
Same width.
24 feet, you're adding 16,
Yep,
so
okay. Well,
66.7%.
Yep.
That's an awful large addition.
yep, well, I have 3 cars.
How will you access it?
I'm going to have one on the west side by the house, and on the east side, I'm going to have an 8-foot garage door.
Okay. That's the one that's really close to the property line,
Correct, approximately 10 feet.
the garage, big garage door there.
Yep,
And you're talking about a snowmobile, a snow blower, et cetera.
et cetera, yep.
What's in your garden shed now?
A garden shed, lawn furniture, a lawn mower,
Yeah.
a bunch of rakes.
And you want to keep that shed?
I'd like to, yeah.
It's full. I don't know if you can ever have enough storage.
I think it's oversized for the fact that you're moving directly towards the lake. That's an awful large addition.
Yep.
And you absolutely believe you can't move it forward to the road?
Definitely not. Like you said, when you came out, I can put a bump, or my car won't go over a 8-inch bump.
You could do a little, probably no more than about a 6-inch dip
Yep, could.
to the front of it.
We are
you
blessed
probably
right
not
now
have a
not having
problem.
water in the garage.
What?
We're blessed not having water in the garage now. And if we did that, then secondly, we would have to put another wall inside the existing garage to keep the snowmobile and the range and other equipment. That's the idea. I don't want the ladders falling in my car. I don't want rakes falling in my car. So I'd have to build another wall inside the existing garage.
Plus, just the expense of moving all those garage doors, rebuilding all that.
Aesthetically, it's not very pleasing to have a garage in front of it. You won't even see the house. And plus, the septic is right there. So I'd come out of the garage door and walk into the septic tank, probably.
Okay.
It just wouldn't work, I'm afraid.
Have any other questions or comments before I open public comment? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, for the record, open for public comment. Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. So I'm going to give a little back history here for the applicants and just information for the board as well. So your current house and garage were both allowed to be built at their current setbacks through a previous variance back in 1997,
So I understand that.
97-52. Because at one time there were a couple different cabins on the property that were moved, and then the house was replaced with the cabin. So there was a variance at that time for this cabin, because the lot is small, to be built at their locations at like 85-foot ordinary high watermark setback and such. So that is part of the reason why they're located where they are. Same with the garage, they were both. And then same with the deck. The deck is also part of that variance. So there were some prior variances that took place. For me, for myself personally, I would like to see the 8x12 structure be removed if I was moving forward with the garage addition, because you're asking for 512 square feet. Some of those items can be still stored. I mean, if that's only 96 square feet, you still have, 3/4 of it to go.
Yep.
That would be my proposal. If I was to move forward, I would have the 8x12 removed in order to move forward at the placement that you're liking. Because I do understand the needs for expansion, and I agree. Storage is a necessity. So that's how I feel. I don't mind the location. Again, Even looking at the aerial footage, that location on that side, even though it's lakeward, it's still well vegetated. There was no erosion. The applicants have done a great job taking care of the water needs, the runoff. I would also propose conditions that gutters be placed, again, to direct that stormwater away from the lake. Other than that,
I couldn't quite, are you proposing they, if we approve this, that they remove the shed?
correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's my suggestion. And the extension of the garage won't pass the current deck as well. It's still gonna all be in line. It's not gonna go any further. It'll still be behind the deck.
Current shed's 8 by 12, right?
Correct, 96 square feet. New proposal's 512 square feet.
Yeah.
This is Mike. I'd be in agreement with Veronica as a condition that the shed be removed. Also with the gutters, and since the applicants mentioned that they intend to put those gutters into a sump so there won't be runoff, that also be included as a condition.
This is Tim. The lot is, from what I calculated, was over 13,000 square feet short of being conforming. So I'd be in agreement with the shed too being.
Yeah, yep, and that was, this is Veronica speaking, that was part of the reason for the 97 variance application, is that it was an undersized lot. It was, and which was why they requested the sizes that they had, so. But thank you.
So could I move the lot, the garage, something like that, the small shed somewhere else on the property? Is that what
Sure.
you're saying, or just burn it?
For me, it's just remove it entirely off the lot. That's just me. I don't know if anybody else want to move it.
I'd have to be at least 100 back. Where would it go?
Is there anywhere on the lot that your shed would meet setbacks?
Not really, no. Front yard,
Yeah, and you would want
I
that.
don't want that.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments?
Over by the propane tank in that corner.
And just put it on the neighbor's place almost, you know, if you put it over there, so.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is Veronica, then I will make a motion to approve the application as submitted on the site plan with the following conditions. Number one, the 8 by 12 shed must be removed. I'm gonna also give a deadline there, because when do you propose, if this goes forward, to start construction? Next year?
Before, this year, before the snow, hopefully.
Okay.
Remove, once the addition is done, it has to be gone. Is that what?
Yeah, I was going to actually just say 6 months after the land use permit is pulled. So again, then going back to my condition would be to remove the 8 by 12 shed 6 months after the land use permit for the 16 by 32 garage addition is placed. Then number 2 would be gutters must be placed to direct the stormwater away from the lake, utilizing your system, your sump system that you currently have. Does that cover that for you? Okay. And then I have with the findings of facts. Number 1, is the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls? Yes. The current house and garage were both allowed at their current setbacks through the previous variance 97-52, placing a condition to remove the 8 by 12 accessory structure to add the 512 square foot garage addition is in harmony with the official controls. Number 2, is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by an official control? Yes, expanding the garage for additional storage is a reasonable use. Number 3 is the need for the variance due to circumstances unique to the property and not created by the current or prior property owners. Yes, the current house and garage were allowed by a previous variance at their current setbacks, and they do not meet the ordinary high watermark setbacks of today's shoreline management standards. Therefore, a variance is needed. And I will adopt the staff's findings 4 and 5. Anybody care to second the motion?
This is Larry, I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Larry. So motion made by myself to approve the application as stated per site plan for the garage and the conditions as stated. I provided findings of facts 1, 2, 3, and adopted staffs 4 and 5, seconded by Larry. Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. Your application has been approved.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and you'll receive a decision letter from the Environmental Services sometime later this week, and they will give you guidance and directions on the next steps and the permits that you'll need.
Great,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward, variance application 56-V-24 by Tom Juparian, lots 5 and 6, block 3, Buena Vista Beach, section 19, township 141, range 34, Lake Emma Township on Potato Lake, a recreational development lake. Parcel 16.48.01500. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 902.1 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance to excavate more than the permitted volume of soil and a steep slope. And I believe we received information earlier today that the applicant is unable to attend tonight's meeting. So next question would be, do all members want to proceed as we do have the capability of moving forward, or would, if you have questions for the applicant, would somebody like to table?
This is Ken. There's a lot of confusion over this, the drawings and what the environmental services, how they marked off that. And then we went on the view. He said he really intended it to be, the dirt removal to be in a different location altogether. The point is, I don't feel we could act on this without him here. And we have two choices, either just deny it or defer it.
Okay.
I think are our choices. I'm not prepared to even think about it with all the confusion based on the view that we did.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Anybody else have any comments on?
This is Mike. I'm fine with tabling it, but I would also like to have a letter sent from the Environmental Services stating that when we hear this, we need to have a site plan with the topography, what's going to be removed, what kind of slopes we're having, and also a stormwater plan, or at least the beginnings of one, but it's definitely a site plan so we know exactly where the proposed dirt removal is taking place and what kind of slopes will be left.
Okay.
This is Tim, I agree with Mike.
Probably. And including where he would propose potentially to build a structure.
Got that. Okay. I'm hearing that from most members. Larry, you feel the same?
Yes.
Okay, so then it appears that we want to table the application for Environmental Services Office to give them direction from the board here that we would like to see a site plan for future construction, topography, maybe a stormwater management plan as well. And what other information would you like as far as the removal?
This is Tim. I thought one thing I had mentioned to him, but maybe it should be that he has a definite clarification of that property line between him and the neighbor that they agree on anyway.
Sort of works to the east.
Okay, and the property line. Okay.
Yep.
That he needs to mark that property line.
And have everything flagged.
Okay.
What's the timing on this? Do we have to have an extension of any kind?
Eric, since the applicant is not here to sign the certain documents that you require for an extended tabling, will you have something for him to take care of? Or request any
We'll
additionals?
just invoke our standard 120-day extension, so that'll safely allow us to hear this next month and possibly the month after.
Okay. Okay. All right, well then, this is Veronica. I make a motion to table the application, giving the applicant time to provide a site plan for future construction with topography, having everything flagged with a stormwater management plan, clarification on the property line as well to the property, well, all property lines, but mainly that east one, correct?
Yeah, the east, the west ones were marked.
Okay. Anybody care to make a second?
This is Tim, I'll second that motion.
Okay, so I had a motion by myself to table the application, and Tim seconded. Timothy, how do you vote?
This is Timothy, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
Okay, this is Veronica. The application has been tabled. Okay, next item on the agenda. 57-V-24 by Ben and Tammy Ott, part of the southeast quarter, section 28, Township 140, range 33, Nevis Township, parcels 21.28.01700 and 21.27.01900. The applicants are requesting a variance from section 4, subdivision A1, B2 of the subdivision ordinance to create a lot less than 2.25 acres in size. Basically, the request is to allow the parcel 21.28.017 to be made smaller than the 2.25 acre minimum lot size allowed with the certificate of survey, so that south 37 feet of tract on which the egress easement lies can be made part of the adjacent proposed plat. Correct?
Correct.
All right, if you could please state your name and address for the record, both of you.
Terry Freeman with Northern Engineering and Consulting, now IMEG, 8381 Lakeland Trail Northwest, Walker, authorized agent for the Otts.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Freeman and Mr. Ott.
Benjamin Ott. I reside at 17075 County Road 13, Nevis.
Okay, thank you, and go ahead and proceed with the request.
So this lot was created by administrative subdivision in 2021. The lot was recorded in February of '22. At this time, the lot to the west of it was also created by that same subdivision. And the 37 feet was an easement to get to that second lot. At that time, there was no consideration what the rest of the property might be subdivided. We've created another couple lots, and now we're doing a 7-lot plat to the south of this. We were before you last month requesting a variance to include the 37 feet as part of the outlot A in the plat, and that was denied. And actually, you guys suggested that we apply for a variance to make this lot less than the 2.25 acre required. It is 2.25 if you include the highway right-of-way, County 33. But part of that definition of the lot is you cannot include the county road right-of-way as part of the area, so.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Did you go to lot views? Again, this is
just a-
Veronica. I didn't go to lot views, so.
Yeah, just a couple, I know we're having trouble trying to figure out the question number 3 and findings of fact, but a couple observations. One is, even this little section is unusable in that 21-28-01-700 lot. So even if we wouldn't allow it to be detached or moved, it still has no value to that. And the other observation I make is the easement for the right-of-way adds up to a little bit over of a quarter acre. So in many ways, you could squint and say, it meets the intent of the ordinance for a 2.25 acre parcel. I don't know if I'm making sense or not, but, it's more a technicality that turns out that it can't make the 2 1/4 acres. So,
This is Mike. Last month, the board asked for exactly this, and I think the applicant has now provided us to what we thought was clean up the access to the other properties, so there were no future problems. So based on that, I'm in favor of this application.
This is Larry, I concur. They're basically doing what we asked them to.
Yep, this is Tim, same.
Okay. No other comments at this time, then for the record, I'm gonna open for public comments. Seeing no public comment, I will close public comment. And this is Veronica, I agree, this was the cleanest route, versus what we were trying to deal with for the plat. I understand the technicalities that Ken was talking about, and that it's still gonna be undersized, but I couldn't use anything for that easement anyhow. So this does seem to be the straight way.
This is Tim, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
I'll make a motion that we approve this application 57-V24. And I need to answer number 3. To me, the circumstance unique to this property is all the different options that were in front of somebody when they began from the beginning. And the option they chose was the one that's existing now. That makes it a lot smaller with the easement that was allowed to be in there. So making a variance to just keep it the same, to me, is common sense, so. Yes.
wasn't intentional.
Okay, and you will adopt the remaining staffs?
Yes, and I'll adopt the rest.
Okay. Do I have a second?
This is Mike, I'll second the motion.
Okay, so Tim made a motion to approve the application with providing the findings of facts for number 3 and adopting staffs 1, 2, 4, and 5. Mike seconded the motion. Timothy, how do you vote?
This is Timothy, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
It's Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica, I vote aye. The application's been approved. Thank you. You'll be receiving a decision letter.
Since today was the deadline for the final plat, I brought the plat with. I had the application in actually on Thursday or Friday, so I brought the plat copies with today to give to Eric.
All right.
Tonight.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, 58-V-24 by Michael Papp, Lot 6 and part of Outlot A, Sylvan Shores, Section 12, Township 139, Range 34, Hubbard Township on Big Stony Lake, a recreational development lake. Parcel 14.45.00600, the applicant is requesting an after-the-fact variance from Section 502.2 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for an addition to a dwelling that is encroached into the 100-foot ordinary high water mark setback. The after-the-fact request is to bring the house into compliance with the 100-foot ordinary high water mark setback. The original 26 by 36 house was permitted in 1978 at the 108-foot ordinary high water mark setback. Thank you. You can go ahead and state your name and address, please, for the record.
Eric Munson, 18475 Elmwood Road, Nevis, Minnesota.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Munson. And your applicant?
This is Mike Pop,
Yeah.
434 Christopher Trail,
All
Park
right.
Rapids.
Thank you. And you can proceed with the request, please.
Well, as we discovered when we were trying to do an addition on the front, the existing cabin that the Pops had bought had an addition on it. The original house was in compliance with the current setbacks. However, the addition on the easterly part of the house is encroached down to 93 foot, I believe, from the ordinary high water mark. So we're just requesting that as an existing cabin that was discovered to be closer than what was permitted for, that you request the after-the-fact variance so they can move forward with the front addition to make it more of a retirement home.
Thank you, Mr. Munson. Do any of the members have any questions?
Was the application for the original, or the addition, did it show with that kind of bump out that's on the drawing?
For the 2004 edition?
Yeah, I don't know if I could find anything.
I went back and looked at the original 2004 drawing, and it looked like their intent was to be within compliance. It looked like the intent was to be in compliance, but it was not.
Okay, but it was, that addition to that side sticks out. Was it proposed in the application then to build it that way, that size?
It was proposed to build it that size, and the way the lake is laid out, I'm coming up 20 years after the fact, and I look at it, and it appears like it's within 100 feet, but it's kind of an optical illusion.
My only question is, was it built to the permit? And the outcome is that it's not 100 feet, but was it built to was it proposed to be that size?
It was proposed to be that size. And again, I'm looking at what somebody did and what some other builder did 20 years ago. It looks as though they simply made a measuring mistake, is what it looks like to me, looking at the documents.
But I think Clint's clarification is did they build it 15 by whatever the dimension is there?
24?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. That's what I think his question is if it was built as proposed, not so much the measurement from the lake, but the structure itself.
Okay.
Okay, while the board members are reviewing, I'm going to go ahead and open for public comment. And seeing no public comment, I'm going to close public comment.
You were the owner when that addition was done before?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've owned the house for 10 years. This was done 10 years prior to that.
So a previous owner had
Yes.
done that addition? Okay.
Yeah, this is Veronica. I support the application as well. Again, the application has been in place since 2004 with no changes or no impact to the lake or any complaints. The 2004 was modest in size, and this addition is non-lakeside, correct?
Correct.
So, yeah. So I'm in favor of the application.
You ready for a motion?
I am, yes, sir.
This is Ken. I'll make a motion that we approve this application 58V24, accept the findings of fact. Number 3 needs to be addressed is the need for a variance due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the current and prior owner, and not by the current or prior property owners. Actually, it was created by a prior owner. It's been in place in 20 years. It would seem that changing it would not make any sense.
Ken, would you be open to a condition?
Yeah,
I'd like to see a condition placed on that only the portion of the 2004 edition that doesn't meet the foot ordinary high water setback is what is approved, and the rest of the structure must meet the 100-foot ordinary high water mark setback, and any future rebuild of the structure must fully comply with the 100-foot ordinary high water setback.
Yeah, that's appropriate.
With that, I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion by Ken to approve the application as per site plan with the condition that Mike stated, and a second by Mike, and they adopted the findings of facts 1, 2, 4, and 5, and Ken provided the answer for number 3. Timothy, how do you vote?
Timothy votes aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica, I vote aye. Your application has been approved. You'll receive a letter from Environmental Services for your next steps.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, this next item, variance application 59-B-24 by Todd and Leah Luke. Lot 6, Block 1, Twin Shores Edition, Section 35, Township 141, Range 34, Lake Emma Township on Lake Ida, a natural environment lake, parcel 16.93, or .93.00600. Applicants are requesting Part 1, a variance from Section 507.2.9 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance to have a stairway and a mechanical lift as means of accessing the lake. Part 2, an after-the-fact variance from Section 507.2 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for an existing landing that exceeds 32 square feet and a new request to further expand the size of said landing. Part 3, an after-the-fact variance from Sections 502.2 and 503 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for a platform located within the 30-foot bluff crest setback. And Part 4, an after-the-fact variance from Sections 502.2 and 503 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for a driveway located within the 30-foot bluff crest setback. And Part 5, for an after-the-fact variance from Sections 502.2 and 503 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for an accessory structure located within the 30-foot bluff crest setback. Okay, if you both could please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Todd Luke. Live at 19559 Grandview Drive, Park Rapids.
Leah Luke, 19559 Grandview Drive.
Thank you both, and go ahead and give us the rundown on your request. We know you have lots of multiple parts here, but I think we can still take care of it in one swoop.
So part one involves a variance for restoring the previous stairway that was in place prior to the installation of a tram that the previous landowner had installed, I think roughly 12 years ago or so. My proposal is to put in a narrower version. I think there was a 4-foot stairway, but to put in a very simplified 3-foot wide stairway for safety reasons, simply because the slope there is very steep. I have a degenerative ankle condition that's only going to get worse as I get older and more elderly. And because the tram has I won't say broken down, but it has stopped mid-slope a couple of times. Probably going to increase in the future, simply because as it gets old, you're going to have more mechanical breakdowns, or there could be a power outage, and then we might get pinned partway down the slope or even at the bottom of the slope. So the stairway is purely for a safety need, and that stairway would then run from the top of the bluff down to a pre-existing deck that I think the Environmental Services Office caught and added that as part 2 as an after-the-fact variance. The previous landowner, I believe, was supposed to remove that and didn't. There's also several sections of stairway associated with that. So what we'd like to do to minimize impacts is just to utilize the existing structure that's still there, that deck, so that stairway would run all the way down to the deck, and then also finish the stairway at the bottom, I think about another 30 feet in order to access the shoreline. In addition to that, since we're going through the trouble adding the stairway, I did propose adding a small 6-foot extension to the deck. It's so small just to make it a little bit more usable. Not a deal killer if that isn't desirable. But the other thing we would really like is a small offshoot over to the tram. And by the way, this whole stairway is going to parallel the tram down to the lake, to provide a kind of a secondary landing for the tram mid-slope. Again, in case it breaks down, you can hop over onto the stairway there, or maybe just a shortcut to the deck if that's all as far down as you want to go. The deck isn't viewable or very viewable from the lake. Certainly during the summer you can't see it. And then also, stopping the tram up the slope, I think aesthetically that would be appealing to the other lake users. And what was I going to say? Oh, as far as construction of it, I kind of flagged out a route that would require very minimal vegetation removal. Basically, just some light brush would need to be moved, possibly one very small birch tree. That would be my intent, to have minimal impact on the vegetation of that slope, that bluff area.
Okay.
I don't know, you just want to go through these one at a time, right?
We probably will definitely address some of these one at a time. Thank you. I think some of them may have to see which way we're going with those items as we go along and kind of see what we can put together. I am going to, right off the bat, go ahead and open for public comment because I think we're not going to have any. So for the record, I'm going to open for public comment. And seeing none, I will close public comment. And wanted to visit with the board and see if there's any items that stand out that maybe they want to get some extra questions on before moving forward, if we need to separate any or keep them together.
This is Mike. I think we can keep the entire package together. I have some observations while there at the site visit. Very difficult lot. It's steep on both sides. I'm going to jump down to number 3, which is the platform. I believe that platform, we would do more damage by requiring and potential impacts to the bluff by removing it and trying to restore then to leave that landing in place. And I think the same holds true for the driveway and the shed. It was quite obvious that there is no runoff problems at this time. Saw no indications anywhere along that bluff line that's been developed that there is detrimental runoff. So I would be in favor of 3, 4, and 5 being okay. The stairway, I think, is needed. I know if I was on that tramway and it quit, I couldn't get back up to the top of the hill. My alternative would be to slide down the hill and walk to the neighbors and hope somebody could come and pick me up. The only thing I would change is in number 2 and have no extension of that landing. I think the existing landing is adequate to access the stairway going up and again down towards the lake.
This is Ken. I fully agree with what Mike had to say, that no reason to expand the landing, but all the other things are all reasonable and consistent.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Ken. I have very similar feelings during the lot views. I noted the same. I did not find any erosion issues at all. The entire lot was well vegetated. It was even well vegetated from the top of the bluff down. I didn't see anything there. Again, I agree with Mike that removing a lot of that platform or patio because it is in the bluff and there was lots of retaining walls in place, lots of terraced, you have terraced areas, I think removing anything would be detrimental to the entire bluff area and that structure. So I agree on there. I also wouldn't be open to the extension on the landing, but basically the purpose of landings are just turnarounds or to help, if you had to do like a switchback style. They're not intended to be platforms to view the lakes. You have the whole patio at the top. Typically, your landings, again, are only 32 square feet. You're requesting to keep the current one, which is already larger than what the shoreline management ordinance allows. I would be somewhat in favor of retaining that. Otherwise, everybody else seems to be in favor of retaining it, but I definitely think that retaining everything else that you're asking is doable. Again, the shed, it's already on the pavement itself, and so it's already, kind of in a safe spot, and it's not creating any extra impervious surface either, so.
This is Ken, just for clarification. I know the applicants indicated they willing to keep the 7x9 one that's there. If they would want to replace that 7x9, I think we'd be okay with it. Since they're building all new steps and all everything, follow what I'm trying to say. Are we gonna prove that they gotta keep the one that's there, what's old, and everything else new, or could they redo the 7x9?
This is Veronica speaking. We can ask the applicant for clarification, but during the lot views, I believe they planned on utilizing that exact 7 by 9 structure that currently exists.
Yeah, I think foundationally it's fine. There might be, like the railings might need to be replaced. There's some deterioration of some of the boards, but I think most of it could be salvaged. I'd rather do that than impact the area any more than I have to. But it's a good option to have, I guess, if you find out, oh, this is a lot more rotten than I thought, and
Not in favor of it being expanded, but I'd be in favor of giving them the option of rebuilding it at that same size.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Any other comments or questions on any parts, or particularly this part 2, retaining the 7x9 or the 7x6 extension? I think we have a couple, 3 that are not in favor of the extension.
Well, I agree with you, Veronica, and I guess I would just make a comment that during lot view, that whole bluff where the shed is, the topography went the opposite direction from the lake, just for record.
Correct.
So I'm okay with it.
Okay. Anyone prepared for a motion?
This is Mike. I'll make the motion that we accept the variance application 59V-24 with the exception in part 2 that no extension of the landing be allowed. And for the findings of fact, is the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls? Yes, access and use of the lot is the purpose of what the variance application is, and there is no shown erosion or detriment to the bluff area of that lot. Is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by official control? Yes, a backup access for a slope that steep is reasonable, And the things that are in place have not shown any detriment to the lake, and by removing them could, in fact, cause detriment to the bluff area. Is the need for the variance to circumstances unique to the property and not created current or prior property owners? Yes, it's an extremely steep lot on multiple sides. Will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Yes, approving this will not change any of the character. Most everything that's being proposed will not be visible from the lake, and except number 5 of the staff's findings of fact.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Do I have here a second from anyone?
This is Timothy, I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mike to approve the variance application as stated, with the part 2 not allowing the additional 7x6 extension to the landing. He has created findings of facts 1 through 4, adopted staff's findings number 5, and the seconded was by Tim. Mike, how do you vote?
It's Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
Timothy, how do you vote?
This is Timothy, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica, I vote aye. Your application has been mostly approved with the one exception for that extension, and you'll be receiving a decision letter from Environmental Services, and then they'll also give you direction on the next steps for any permits or after-the-fact permit stuff, okay?
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
Very
thank you.
pleased, thank
Yep,
you.
have a great
good
evening. Okay, next item, variance application 60-V-24 by Bruce Karstens, Unit 3, Beechwood Estates, Section 9, Township 141, Range 35, Arago Township on Island Lake, a recreational development lake, parcel 02.51-40300. The applicant is requesting a variance from Section 702 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for proposed expansion of a non-conforming dwelling located in the shore impact zone. Okay, if you would, please go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Bruce Karstens. The address is 26084 Island Bay Trail, Park Rapids.
My name is Matt Berge with Wassa Homes Bemidji, Berge Construction, 920 Washington Avenue South, Bemidji, Minnesota, and I'm an authorized agent of the Karstens.
Okay, thank you both. If you could go ahead and state your request.
Well, we are requesting to replace an aging cabin with a 24 by 38 structure that would take advantage of the CIC, I think, the spirit of what they're trying to do there as far as the plat with the space for every cabin. So we're trying to maximize that, and I think that's pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah, right now the cabin is 630 square feet, maybe 680. I don't really remember we bought it in June of '23, and it's falling down. And my wife and I would like to retire up in this area and utilize the existing footprint that is 38 by 24. So I contacted Wassa Homes, and we were able to get together on the design and something we could afford to do.
Okay, thank you. So just for clarification, for the record then, the request is to tear down that 20 by 38 by 11 and replace it with a 24 by 38 21. So basically, you're wanting, like you said, to utilize the entire unit footprint.
Correct.
The footprint itself is 24 by 38. Okay, so during the lot views, we discussed the deck, because currently you have a deck, and this new proposal doesn't have a deck involved, so it's only.
Can I clarify the deck situation?
Yes.
That current patio is on the community space and is allowed by the community rules. And it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be outside of this scope of the variance, I guess.
Correct. However, you would, it falls under the declarations for your community, However, you would still be required to my information, I could be wrong, I could get clarification from Eric, you would still need a variance or permit from Environmental Services to place a new deck on there or place a deck on there, since he doesn't meet setback?
If it was different dimensions, the existing could stay.
Exactly, okay,
Leave that untouched.
okay. So if,
And it does encroach into the shore impact zone though, right?
Ken's asking a question about the shore impact zone, it does, correct? 45 feet? It's at the 45, so yeah, it's less.
Yeah, Eric, can you pull up a drawing that shows the two neighbors? What I'm trying to get at is that I think this patio is kind of the core of our discussion here. I seem to remember that when you looked at the neighbors and you looked at the patio, yeah, so they kind of line up. So even with a patio extension,
They're still lining up.
if it's allowed by the association, still is not going to, if they rebuild it, is still not going to encroach closer to the lake shore than the neighbors. If I look at that. That's a conclusion I draw. When I was there, and that's what the drawing shows. Okay.
Yep.
But Eric, you say they can rebuild that patio,
Same dimensions.
yeah, same dimension, with the same dimensions. And it's a platform, not a deck, platform.
Correct.
Okay.
Does the county have a record of the dimensions?
I can check. I'm gonna guess that's before the PUD, back from
been
when it
there
was a
quite a while.
resort.
I did measure it. It measures 10 feet by 20 feet, 26 feet, 6 inches. I was very precise with that, just because I knew it was gonna be probably brought into question.
I have one other question. Your loft or second story, whatever, is gonna be bedroom up there?
No.
What is its purpose then?
Just extra rooms, if somebody wants to be able to sleep up there, they'll be able to do that, but it's not a bedroom at all. No, it's extra, just extra storage too from up there, because I don't have any storage. If you look at the drawing, there's not a lot of storage within the footprint of what we're building.
I noticed 2 bathrooms though. See, seems like you're, for a small cabin, 2 bathrooms.
There's a
It's
master
using up a lot of
suite,
space.
I understand that, but I'm gonna tell you, I have a medical issue, and 2 bathrooms is pretty much required if we have guests at the cabin.
One of the challenges with these smaller structures, and I run into this a lot with resort cabins, where you have just, you have to replace it the same size that it is with some minor allowances, is where do you put all the mechanicals, like the furnace? So I've done this in the past where we put it up in an attic truss and we're gonna do this in the back, so the furnace actually sits up above the bedrooms, or the master bedroom in this case. So you're not having to make the house bigger, and in this case, we can't because we're limited, but it's a good solution. And it just made sense to have some loft space up there to go in conjunction with that, because we don't need all that room for mechanicals, so.
Okay.
It looks like the deck has grown since this sketch from the 2005 variance that showed it as 8 by 15.
The 2005 variance, Ken shows the deck being 8 by 15, so the deck has possibly grown in size since the applicant's authorized agent said it's now 10 by 20 and 6 inches.
Which would say we should restrict it to that size then. So it was overbuilt, oversized?
Or add it on.
Seemed like it was one piece, so didn't it?
I think it was one piece.
Look at the drawings.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I will go ahead and open for public comment. Thank you.
I have to sign in, correct?
Yes, please state your name and address in the
Thomas
microphone.
Berg. My address here in Park Rapids is 26081 Island Bay Trail. I also reside at 1155 Lime Tree Circle, St. Cloud, Minnesota. I am here wearing two hats this evening. One, I am representing the board of Beechwood Estates Homeowners Association, where I am the treasurer and the de facto vice president. And as board member, I am fully in favor of Bruce and Susie's plan to expand their cabin and leave their deck the existing size that it is. Had my hand up back there because I can tell you the story on this deck. The deck was designed to be removable. There is a section of it that actually can be taken up that's larger than what was originally put on there. So the original owners, Scott and Lynn Michaelis, built that deck to be removable and take it out between the seasons. They've never done that. So when Bruce and Susie bought it, they bought it the way that it is. So I can shed that little light to what's happening because I know that as a fact. Secondly, here I'm wear as a hat as their neighbors, and I'm the only person that's really gonna be affected by what they build because I am, can you show the, there we go. This is me right here. And so they'll be kind of in front of me, and even though there's gonna be greater height, I am totally in favor of their plan of what they're doing and what they propose to do. I think it'll be a great addition to the association. We've had 4 owners, they're now the 4th owners. We'd like to keep them for a long time, so hoping that you guys will see to approve this as requested. Thank you much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Berg, are you number 4 or number 2 on here, on this picture here? Which one did you point at? You're number 1, okay.
This is me right here, so
Perfect.
they're directly
In
in my
front,
line of sight.
okay, okay, thank you. Okay, is there any other public comment? Okay, it does appear there's no other public comment, so I will now close public comment. This is Veronica speaking. I don't have any problems with the current size patio, the 10 by 26.6. The current proposed structure is, again, a modest size, 912 square feet. And the deck is reasonable. However, I would, if we're moving forward on this, I would like to propose a condition that gutters and downspouts be installed to direct the stormwater away from the lake, because we are in the shore impact zone. 45 feet, I believe, is the ordinary high water mark.
To the house is 45 feet.
Correct, yep, and that's where I would definitely like to see some gutters.
What do the neighbors' gutters look like? Can't tell, right?
And also because of the way they're proposing to place this house, since it's going to be parallel to the lake with that long side, it's going to be on some watershed, so I would like to see that. Pardon me?
I'm sorry, gutters.
Gutters are fine?
We have
Oh,
gutters.
absolutely no issue.
That's planned already.
Perfect.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions or comments from the board members? Needing any other additional?
This is Mike, just for the record, past actions in this development has pretty much allowed for increase in height. And based on that, I can't see where it would be appropriate at this time to deny it. And I appreciate the gentleman's comments with the cabin behind. I looked at that specifically, and it certainly looked like the living areas and view from that cabin still has clear view of the lake. So based on what I see, I'm in favor of this and would agree with the condition that Veronica mentioned.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions or comments? And I agree, all of the, like Mike has commented, that all of the other ones have been replaced, rebuilt. I believe this is the last one, or
Oh, this is the last of
Yeah.
the Mohicans.
cat's out of the bag there, so we're, all right, anybody care to, or prepared for a motion?
Someone else could do this one.
This is Mike. I'll make the motion that we approve variance 60-V-24 with the condition that gutters be placed on the structure and runoff directed away from the lake. Accept staff findings of fact 3, 4, and 5, and number 1, is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls. Yes, there does not appear to be any problems with runoff existing towards the lake, and this will, with the gutters, will actually protect it more. Is the property owner proposing the use of the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by official controls? Yes, it's very similar to what's been done to other properties within this development.
I would add that it is being built within the allowed footprint, unit footprint.
I accept that.
And this is Veronica. I know we shouldn't have to place this condition on there because it's, should be implied, but no living quarters in the loft.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Accept that also.
Yeah, and that the platform patio should be, we should specify its size too.
Yeah.
10 by 26.
The platform wasn't part of the request, so
Right, and it can't exceed that if they do, correct? I mean, if they go through you.
it can't exceed 8 by 15.
Okay. Eric said currently the patio is not included in this application, so we don't have to place that condition on there. And also, because of the information that he just located for us with the 8 by 15 patio, that is what it cannot exceed that dimension, 8 by 15.
Without another variance or application.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. All right, so Mike made a motion to approve the application with the conditions that gutters be placed on the structure and stormwater be directed away from the lake, and no living quarters in the loft, just the 2, correct? And do I have a second?
This is Larry, I'll second.
Okay, and Larry seconded the application. Mike provided findings of facts, questions for numbers 1 and 2, and adopted staff's findings 3 through 5. Timothy, how do you vote?
This is Timothy, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. Your application has been approved. You will receive a decision letter from Environmental Services and giving you guidance on how to proceed. Okay? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just that was a technicality, I thought they didn't, it was not in the application, so they'll go back to the history. Okay.
Okay, so the next item is miscellaneous or communications.
I have a question on the 2025 calendar. The May meeting, or the June meeting, rather, you have lot views on Friday, June 20th. Is that correct, or that is correct?
Okay.
That's because of the new state holiday, Juneteenth.
That's a holiday now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm all for holidays.
Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a holiday, so.
Juneteenth,
Yes.
okay.
So lot views will be on a Friday that day. Thank you for the clarification, because I didn't see that yet.
Well, I was putting it in my calendar and I go, well, that's odd.
Okay, any other communications?
The November agenda will be smaller than
Bit of another one if we can add one.
today's, one for sure, and then I've got up to 4 that are
On the table.
maybes,
Okay.
depending on if they can get additional information submitted in time. That's all I've got.
All right. Okay, so anyone care to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay,
This is Larry, I'll second.
okay, motion by Ken to adjourn, second by Larry. Timothy, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Veronica, for keeping us on our toes. Gotta pay attention.